in. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is for the people that do not want to watch a 25-minute video on how to make raised panel doors. This is going to be the quick and not really dirty, the quick and precise version of making raised panel doors, hopefully in like 5 minutes or at least less than 10 minutes. I have to make one at least because the strangest thing that has ever happened to me in all of my woodworking experiences happened to me with one of these doors. This cabinet door should look like this cabinet door, but this one has problems too. This cabinet door looked not like this. Before I dropped it, I dropped the door and it broke. I glued it back together. About 15 minutes later, this moisture starts showing up on the surface. It's some kind of oil. It's not water. It didn't happen when I dropped it. There weren't any puddles or anything outside. It's just this liquid of some kind showed up. It has to be some sort of sap, some sort of reaction that happened when the force of hitting the ground broke something, I'm going to have to assume, and it's like actually wet to touch, and I can't paint it because it's wet. We're gonna make a new door, hopefully in less than 10 minutes. For the video, it's gonna be like, hopefully less than 2 hours for me. So we're gonna grab some poplar, and we're gonna start cutting. Actually, let's not grab poplar, let's clean the bench off. Now I'll grab some poplar. I have 13-inch long section that is almost 12 inches wide. We could get 2.5-inch rails out of this if we divide it into 4 pieces. I don't want to do that. I want to give myself a little bit of safety because some of them, my boards before were narrower, so I couldn't make them all consistent if I did 2.5. This is where the radial arm saw really shines. Of course, you could use a circular saw, but this is way more fun. So these 3 pieces are going to turn into 2 different main panels for the center. They're going to be 9/16 of an inch thick, approximately. These 2 are going to be ripped into 4 separate pieces, and they're going to be all of our rails and stiles. Now we're going to use my little Craftsman joiner to get this thing actually flat, more or less. It doesn't have to be perfectly flat, but closer to flat and square to one edge, and then we can run it through the planer, get our thicknesses down right, and then we can use the table saw again to square off the other side. I'm going to plane all of them down, even my panel pieces, to 3/4 of an inch, and then I'm going to glue these ones together. Then I'll run them down to 9/16. These dimensions don't actually matter to you because whenever you do a door, it's going to be different. Don't worry about it too much. Okay, I'm going to glue these panels, and these are going to be 12 inches wide. I'm gluing them a little bit over. Some of the big ones I couldn't put through the planer were a lot harder than this. Obviously, for everybody, it's going to be different when you're making a door. A lot of companies that make these things do MDF in the center because it's just more stable. Smooth, it'll paint well. MDF is an option. A lot of woodworkers would despise the idea, like me. Okay, I wasn't too mean to that because I did not have my SD card in. This is a 12-inch wide panel, and with this particular rail system that I'm doing particular with, this particular rail and style bits, 2 inches you add to the end, almost exactly. So if I add 2 inches to the end of this, I get a 16-inch wide panel finish, which is what I want. Probably going to be doing different rail width, different bits. It's all going to have to be checked separately. The distance in between the end of this board, your rail, this is going to decide your width. So the end of this board, 2 inches on these ones. If you're doing a 3-inch one, it'd probably be like 2 3/4, something like that. Bottom of your channel, once you cut that, and the edge of your board, measure that distance and subtract that from your total width, and that is your rail length. Round over. First bit we're going to use on the long runs. We're going to line this up with an old piece of Trek that I had that I used last time, so hopefully we will be consistent. Cove bit, only for the end grain. Line up. Exactly the same. I kept calling this 2.5-inch rail, 2.25-inch rails. They're actually 2.5-inch rails, so just tell me to shut up next time I say that. And if you cut them out with this side on the fence, on the table saw, then you know it's going to be exactly that width. You flip it over, you cut it, it's exactly that width. There's a little bit of scrap in the middle, and you know everything's very, very precise, very, very parallel. Let's go. Another thing I forgot to tell you was you should cut the end grain first, which is something I forgot to do, which I almost never forget to do, but you should definitely cut the end grain first because then you don't get this stupid tear out that now I have to deal with. If there are any clamp companies out there, and you would like to sponsor somebody, I will talk about your clamps all day if you send me some good clamps. If you remember about 45 seconds ago, probably for you, 2 hours ago for me, we were plating all these down to 3/4 of an inch thick. These need to be 9/16 of an inch thick to work out flush on the surface. So we're gonna start plating these down again. Okay, here's a trick. Forgive the heater sound, it's cold. This is my piece, so this is 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to be doing a unglued floating panel, and it uses rubber space balls that go in the grooves, and they're 1/4 inch wide, so they get stuck in there. But if they're 1/4 inch, we don't want just the panel to be 1/4 inch smaller than the outside dimension of these grooves when it's all put together. We want to be squishing those in. So we want to be like a 3/16 gap, and 3/16 is half of 3/8. It's actually, the math works and everything's the same size, but 3/8 of an inch tongue. If I go to the shoulder, so like right here, I'm hitting that on the blade, then that makes a 3/16 gap on both sides. And if I do that, my space balls will be squished in there. Crosscut sled. We're going to square up the end and then mark the lengths, and I'll show you how to mark the lengths too. I really hope you can hear me over that fan. That'd be really crummy if you couldn't. But this is a superbly educational video. After making 18 of these panels, I feel like I know somewhat how to do it, though I did drop it and it broke. But whatever. Style, and this is our rails. I just eyeball 3/16 of an inch. Mark it. So it should be 3/16 from the edge here. This is 3/8 groove. And again, 1/4 inch ball, squishing a 1/16 of an inch. That is our length. Right there. Now we're going to use possibly the scariest router bit I own. Actually, it's definitely the scariest router bit I own. Not really that scary once you just kind of get used to what you're doing. Stay scared of it, but don't be afraid to use it. One of the secrets, vacuum. One of the secrets of not blowing your hand off with this thing is to only cut half or a third of the full cut before you do the full cut. Better to not save time and keep all your fingers than to save time and not keep all your fingers. Where is the joint? Tell me, where is the joint? But it's right there, you can see it. Pretty clean though. Hand sanding now. Now I'm going to be sitting here sanding pieces for several hours, and you're not going to see it because I'm not going to put you through that. So, goodbye. As much as I have complained on making doors like this, these doors in particular, it is actually one of my favorite projects because I just love how these pieces look. They're so clean, they actually are fun to make. It's just sort of the monotony of making so many of them that I haven't liked. But overall, it's been pretty fun. So I'm putting space balls about 6 inches from the ends on these ones and about 1.5 inches, 2 inches from the end on these short rails. If you're doing space balls at all, you can just glue the panel in, but it's just gonna probably end up break something, honestly, with the amount of force that wood can generate when it's expanding and shrinking. Yeah, definitely have some problems. All been sanded to perfecto. Just type on one, and we're not going to go all the way to the end. A little bit of space. That's to hopefully keep it from dripping out on us. We're also going to rock it outward. You'll hopefully squish the glue that way, again, not in. Then you put your panel in. This guy, glue, 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 more glue, and then we pop it in, clean the glue off. Glue, 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 and more glue. Pop, pop. In. That is a raised panel door, even if I didn't clean the joints up, which I'm going to. Alright, so it took me, who actually more or less know what I'm doing, all day. Well, let's see. 6.5 hours, 2 doors, but you could have added 30 minutes and made 6 doors. Adding multiples makes it not take that much longer, if that makes sense. Dead on. Pretty. Very, 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 very nice. Now, I'm going to clean off the glue in the corners here. And I'm using a dry rag. If you are doing stained, use a wet rag. It's going to cause you much happiness later. Raised panel in 6 hours. I forgot this, but this is very important. You have to sand this back before you put it together. I forgot to do that, but take an orbital and just run over this because you're not going to be able to get in the corners very easily. So do that beforehand and sand these grooves before you put it together. After the point I just got you to in this video, everything else is preferential aesthetic stuff. Like if you don't want to cut the edges off angled like I did, or even route the front corners, you could just hit it with sandpaper and break the edge. You can do that. It really doesn't matter. Before that is where all the tricky stuff is that's kind of important to get right. So I feel like I got you through the hard part. Now you're on your own. Go ahead, have fun, make your own raised panel doors. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. If you feel like I give you any useful information, then maybe subscribe so I can give you some more good information, because all my videos have something useful in them. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, please like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I will see you in the next one.